Electricast.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and today we're talking with Kaela Gedda. Kaela is an ontological life coach for people with big dreams. She runs her coaching business, Rise Leadership Circle, with the best partner a girl could ask for, her mom, Lisa. Together, their mission is to help heart-centered leaders live their yes life, which includes having the resources to fund that amazing life. Kaela, I am really excited to welcome you to the show today.
Leslie, thank you. I was so honored you asked me, and I cannot wait for this yummy conversation.
Me neither. But before we dive into your current work, it really is tradition for me to have my guests share something about themselves, like an early experience. But I feel that this is such an important conversation that we're going to have today. And so I want to just really skip right into it. So let's talk. I really love what you do. I've known you and your mom for a little while, and I'm a fan of your work. I know what you're doing and what you're going to be sharing today is really touching lives, but it's going to really inspire the audience to step into living their yes life. So with that being said, you are an ontological life coach who helps people with big dreams achieve their goals. Can you share a little bit more about your journey to becoming the coach that you are and what that means, the ontological life coach, and also what led you to create Rise Leadership Circle alongside your mom?
Ooh, okay. I feel like big question. So I share a little bit about how I got here, ontological life coach and Rise Leadership Circle. Okay, got it. So I would love to take you back to just like paint a picture for you, a Snapchat of a moment in my life so you can really get where I was. So it was a cold, snowy Saturday in January. I had not showered, like I had washed my hair. I probably had showered, but I had not washed my hair in days. So it was, like greasy, messy bun on top of my head. It's a Saturday night. I am sitting alone, not out with friends. I'm eating a dark chocolate bar and scrolling Facebook and honestly just feeling down. I had a career that was allowing me to pay the base minimums on all my expenses every month and not much else. And I was at a point in my life where I felt like, is this it? I always say that I felt the worst four-letter F word, which is fine. So I just felt fine, which to me was really depressing. And while I was scrolling, I saw a picture of two women that I knew who lived on opposite ends of the country that I did not know each other. And they were at a coach training program graduation ceremony. And in that moment, I just had a knowing, like a divine spark knowing that this is what I was meant to do. So I won't tell you the rest of the story, but I always like to paint the picture that I didn't step into being a life coach because I thought that my life was so great, but because I knew that it could be and that I deserved it, even though I had no idea how and that it seemed really unrealistic. And so then I became an ontological life coach. I went through an intensive training program and then many more to follow. And ontology is the study of being. So what I learned in life coaching school is that who we're being is really the foundation of what we get to create. And that was revolutionary for me because I had a stroke when I was 19. And a big part of that stroke was just overworking. So I knew how to be a workhorse, how to go, go, go. And the concept of who do you be to create something was foreign to me. And so then I started working as a life coach independently. I knew about coaching initially because my mom had gotten her coach certification years ago. And so she and I were walking similar, like parallel paths. We were both coaching. And I have another really great story about why we created Rise. So I'll tell you the snap version of it here. But there was a Wednesday in July. I was at my house in Wisconsin. My mom was at a leadership training in San Diego, California. And I had a coaching session with my coach, and after I was just kind of buzzing. And so I went for a walk. I had one puppy at the time. Now I have three. And while I'm walking my dog, I was voice messaging myself these just divine downloads, ideas, and I could see like maybe a new program, a new business. And I got back to my house and I was so excited. So I sat in my hammock and I called my mom, who was in San Diego, and you can already tell from my energy. Like I'm fiery, I'm fast, I'm on it. My mom is flowy and grounded and centered. And so she answered the phone and she was like, "Oh, hi, Kaela. I just had the most beautiful meditation." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got to tell you." And so I just like word vomited all over my ideas. And she was silent. And I was like, "Hello, mom? Like, did you hear what I said?" And next words were, "I just saw the exact same thing in my meditation." I mean, verbatim, even down to the word rise.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I already had a flight booked to San Diego to visit her. We were planning a 3-day beach vacation. So I got on the plane the next day and we spent the next 3 days on the beach building our whole business plan in a sand-filled notebook. And we would just like plan our business on the beach by day, enjoy tacos and margaritas at night, and our business was born.
Uh, I love that story. I didn't know that. So this is like
Yeah.
great for me too. I know, as I said, I love just being connected to you and your mom. I've already seen what you guys do, but just hearing the story of how that was birthed is incredible. So thank you so much. I want to move on to the next question because I know I've got a lot I want to talk to you about. I know you really are helping people. So, as a coach, empowerment is a key theme for you. How do you define empowerment? And what are some ways you help your clients tap into their personal power?
Leslie, great questions. How do I define empowerment? Let me just feel into that for a moment. I believe that empowerment is putting to use that divine spark inside of you. So it's feeling this spark that comes from whatever you believe, your creator, your source, whatever that higher power is for you. And it's not just letting it burn out there, but putting it to use. And so that's what being empowered is like really acting on that divine spark that we have. And so then did you ask me some tips of how we can do that? Is that what the follow-up was?
Well, what I wanted to know was just like when you are, I know that now that you've given us like that definition of like how that empowerment works, and I love your definition of it. It's like that divine spark and putting it to use. How do you help your clients tap into that?
Thank you. So, my job as a coach is to be the mirror. I always like to say that my clients are in the driver's seat. There's only one expert of their life, and it's them. And so, I cannot be in the driver's seat for my clients, but I do a great job being the mirror. And so, the way that I support my clients activating that empowerment for themselves is reflecting to them the power that I see in them. Because sometimes, as humans, and this happens for all of us, it can be easy to maybe look at ourselves in a mirror like through a filter or a lens, and so we see a distorted image or a different version of ourselves. And so I clean that off and just really show my clients who they are, and I invite them to look inside and access that divine spark within them. And then I invite them to act on what they have seen inside themselves.
Yeah, I love that. When you were talking, what came to mind for me, especially one of the things was body image for me growing up. And I remember seeing a completely distorted vision of what I saw compared to what other people saw. And when I look back on old photos and I'm like, where was that coming from? But you're right. It's just that distorted vision we have. And so having someone help us to see like, no, there is a more empowering vision that's really actually you and helping them to unpack that. I think that's really important. So we're now like it's the holidays. I know that that can bring a lot of added stress and emotional challenges for many people as well. It can signal, as it signals that new year that's approaching, that can bring hope, but also maybe a bit of sadness for dreams that were maybe not realized or goals that weren't, accomplished during the year. So what advice or like guidance would you have for someone who's feeling overwhelmed or struggling with feelings of unmet expectations, especially during this time of year?
So if you're someone that feels like you had an unmet expectation or a dream that it didn't come as planned, there's a few things I would invite you to do. One is to feel your feelings, to not make any way that you're feeling wrong. I always say that feelings are information. And so if you're feeling disappointment or regret or resentment or whatever it is that's there, feel free to feel it and to just see what information that feeling is giving you. Because when we feel the feeling, we process it. If we try to override it or tell ourselves we shouldn't feel it, that feeling doesn't go away. It just gets smashed down. And so the first thing that we can do is to feel our feelings. And then the second thing we can do is just get curious with ourselves. And we can get curious in a really playful way. And so we might do that by asking ourselves questions like, like, what if I don't know everything yet? Like, what if I can't see the whole big picture plan? And maybe I did a great job predicting or projecting as best as I could, but there could be more to the plan. Could that be? Could it be that there's more to the plan? And as we just get curious and play, we can kind of soften the edges. And a personal practice that's helpful because I certainly, listen, y'all, I miss goal time. And the reason for that is I set goals that I almost don't believe are possible, right? Like they seem so out of touch. And the reason that I like to do that is because for me, it's never about the result for me. It's about who I get to become in the process. And so I like to set a goal that just allows me to become a version of me that was living deeper that I hadn't yet accessed. So I know that feeling of like, oh, there's another one. It's familiar to me. And so a process I like to do is reflect back on another time when something didn't go according to plan and it turned out so much better. And I think about how had I been so committed to going exactly like that, I would have actually missed the greater gift of what came through.
Yeah, I so agree with you on that because we get so, especially when we have a plan, like everyone, of course, it's good to have a plan because plans help keep us on track. But if you're still so rigid in that plan and something doesn't go the way you want it to, because life happens in the middle of our plans, our big dreams. And if we're open to allowing the process and who we're becoming during the journey, I think it makes it that much more, I don't know if it's enriching, but you learn so much more about yourself and you actually become stronger. And I love that reflecting back because that's sometimes, when you look back, you're like, oh, I'm so glad that this didn't happen because if that had happened, this other amazing thing would never have fallen into my lap. But we don't think that when we're in the middle of it. So I like your approach to it. It's like during this whole time where you're going for your goal is having that mindset like things might change. It's okay. So that then when you reflect back and look at it, the journey, you can say, this didn't go exactly the way I had planned it to go. But what was great was that it opened me up to something bigger, better. Maybe I pivoted and had an idea that came to me and now I'm like exploring something new that I might not have if I had been so stuck in the way I felt like it was supposed to be, and I'm sure you probably have had clients that you've worked with who probably have been rigid in their plans. And how do you get, it's like, how do you get them to like say it's okay and let go of like so much control? Cause I think that's the scary part is letting go. Right. And I'm sure you probably can really relate to that.
1000%. Honestly, the letting go is a personal practice that I'm really embracing in this season of my life. And something that I've been telling myself is like, Kaela, don't miss the mirror because you're busy getting what you wanted. Because that's what we do, right? We just play for the thing we think we wanted. And when we do that, we can miss like the greater opportunity or possibility that's there for us. So that's a way that I self-coach is to remind myself to stay open for the miracle instead of being fixated on the thing I think I want.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. So, for people with big dreams, staying focused on their goals can be difficult with distractions, especially during the holidays. There's so much going on. You have maybe parties you're going to, or maybe it's not the greatest time of the year for you. There could be difficulties around relationships or loss of a loved one. And so it could be a very tumultuous time for some people. It can be very joyous for others. So what would you recommend as strategies for staying aligned with your vision, especially when it comes to business? Because I know you work with a lot of people who are trying to make their goals or dreams come true and like the vision they have for their lives. So how would you help? What would you recommend to stay aligned with your vision and maintain momentum even when life gets busy or overwhelming?
Okay, I'm going to give an answer and then there's an asterisk to my answer. So, my answer is be in joy. Like, I love saying the more I play, the more I prosper. And so the holiday season brings in an energy where joy is readily abundant and not for everyone. There's like you mentioned, there's certainly other circumstances, but us choosing to tap into that experience of joy, it creates a momentum for us to ride the waves of our dreams and our vision. And I personally find that joy does not distract me, it propels me. And so we could notice an exercise you might do is write down what are your distractors and what are your propellers or motivators and see, can joy be on that list and notice what else. And so like comparison is a distractor, but celebration is a motivator. And so that can be for myself and for others. And if I'm comparing myself to my old self, I'm just getting distracted and sabotaging. But when I'm celebrating a way that I've showed up today or now or in this season, it motivates me and the same for others. And then the asterisk to my answer is like I had mentioned before, and feel the feelings. So we don't want to choose joy as a way to override or ignore some possibly big and heavy feelings. And that it can be lowercase joy. It can be that, okay, maybe this is a tough season for me and I'm feeling like I'm not having the connections, the relationships, the experience that I want. So can I create a moment of small joy? Like going to my favorite coffee shop and getting a matcha latte and just really being present with the taste and the people around me. And in that moment, creating that small joy, it also creates that momentum while honoring the overall experience of our lives.
Yeah, I like that. Having like looking at your distractors and having that negative to a positive for the motivation. I think that's a great way to look at it. And I love the idea around just finding ways to be grateful. I think that's for me, gratitude has been such a huge factor in my life to be able to to go through a lot of the life challenges that have come my way over the last couple of years and being able to just like look for the little things that can bring me that joy, that can bring me back to being grateful about all of the other great stuff because we can allow the negative to overtake the positive, even if the positive is more, it is more than the negative. We can let the negative, bad news seems to like have more traction sometimes than good news. People focus on the negative more than they might on the positive. And I think that's something I've even in my own life with some of my family members, it's usually the doom and gloom over like what's positive and having to try to explain, not necessarily explain, I guess, trying to help my family members to look at life that yes, there's going to be challenges, but there's so much to be grateful for. Like, look around you. You have so much happening that's so good and be helping to remind them. And I think that's something that maybe it might be hard for people who haven't gone through some form of self development, whether it's reading a book or taking a course or hearing someone talk about it. I think it makes it a little bit harder. I've found, especially in my family, that it's been challenging because they've never really thought about self development and what that means. And they're starting to come around, but I've just found from my own personal experience that is, like what I've seen, that if they've not been introduced to it in some way, that it might be more challenging to see the thought of like what you were saying, find the joy in going and getting a coffee, your favorite coffee at Starbucks or whatever coffee house you love, and sitting and just smelling the coffee and tasting it and listening to the noises around you, seeing life going on and being really grateful just to be alive in that moment. That's why I feel like gratitude for me has been so good because I can look like right now. I'm recording this in Mexico and you're in a different country and we're being able to talk like this. I'm grateful that we can do this, you know? So I could look at it that way instead of like saying, you know, right now it's rainy season here. So sometimes my internet can be a little spotty. I can either look at it that way or I can look at it, this is so great because I can actually connect with someone who I really admire and talk about what you do and share you with the listeners. So
Ah,
I just
that's
wanted to throw that
beautiful.
in, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. So let's talk about self-care and boundaries because I know some people have a different way of looking at boundaries. I look at boundaries as a way of protecting your energy, your time, and allowing you to be in control of the time you're going to spend or the emotional energy you're going to expend on something. That's how I look at boundaries a little bit around those two particular areas. And I believe self-care is really important, especially during the holidays, during really any time of the year where everything is like chaotic. And I think as much as I love Christmas, it's like one of my favorite times of year. The holidays, Thanksgiving right into the holidays, Christmas holidays is really one of my funnest, most joyous times of year. But I know there's so many demands on people's time, on their energy, especially if you're hosting or you're not hosting, you have to travel, all of those things. And energies can be extremely high. So I know that you probably can answer this. I know that you can answer this question very well. How can people create healthy boundaries and prioritize their well-being without feeling guilty or selfish?
Thank you for bringing this question. Okay, so one thing that's important to know, and this might be hard to hear, but it's the truth, and I want to invite you to own it as the truth. Guilt is a choice. Okay. And now some people might want to come and offer guilt to us like on a silver platter, and they really entice us to take it, like they put it right under their nose and it smells so good. And it is a choice. And so something I do is I even practice, like this happened somewhat recently. There was a family member who was really wanting me to choose something that I wasn't choosing, and they were using some guilt tactics. And I said, I love you, and I'm choosing not to feel guilty about my choice. And I just owned that. And I just labeled that I'm actually not going to take that on. So that's one thing we can do is we can remember that we don't have to choose that. Something else that we can do is look at, so I'm a yes girl. I'm all about living your yes life. And for every yes, there's a no. And so when we're making choices, we can look at, if I'm being a yes for this, what am I actually being a no for? So for example, let's say that you're in it's busy season, you've got a lot going on and you're feeling like you want to get out and take a 30-minute walk. You're like, you know what? If I could just get outside, take a 30-minute walk, have somebody else watching the food in the oven, just delegating whatever there is to do, and you feel that I want to be a yes to that. Then we can ask, okay, and so what are you being a no for? And I might say, well, I'm actually being a no for being overwhelmed, for being so stressed out that I blow up at my family. I am a no for putting myself in the back burner. And by getting both sides of that, it can be really helpful. Like, oh, yeah, I don't want to be stressed out and blow up on my family. Okay, it's easy for me to choose the yes now.
Yeah. I also I have three questions that I ask myself. I've started asking them more and more frequently whenever just things are happening around me. I'm faced with decisions, opportunities, and especially when it comes to time, I'm very, very protective of my time and energy. The questions that I ask myself are, what do I need? How do I feel? And will this serve my greater good? Because I know that if you can do that, that'll bring you to a place of empowerment to be able to say yes or no or not right now. This doesn't serve me, and being able to stand up. And I think that is really important, especially when you have people who are trying to guilt you into doing things and trying to make you feel bad for it not going their way when it's really about you have to be able to look after you. I think it's a self-care moment to take care of you because otherwise, like you were saying, when especially at the holidays, people tend to get the energy is high, emotions are high. People might get a little bit, emotional to the point where things can get bent out of shape and say things that they don't mean. And so being able to to step it back a little bit is, I've just learned that. And it's really only within maybe the last year and a half that I've really learned to do that, is like asking myself, what do I need? How do I feel? And will it serve my greater good around decisions? Because otherwise, as I said before that, I was all over the map saying yes, being guilted into doing things that I didn't want to do and being resentful afterwards. So it's really important, I think, just for us to recognize that it's those healthy boundaries aren't meant to make other people feel bad, to keep them away, to make yourself like you're putting yourself above other people. It's about just protecting your time, your energy, the type of person that you are when you are showing up in situations, so that you're not this other version of you that you don't like. Because none of us, I can say that probably with 100% truth to it, that most people don't like to feel that really bad way of feeling, whereas like they're resentful, they're unhappy when they're in situations with family members. They don't want to feel that. They want to feel good. And especially during the holidays. So yeah, thank you so much for that. So this is my final episode for the Empowerment Through the Holidays series for December. What final words of encouragement would you offer to our listeners who are looking to step into their personal power and start the new year with a sense of purpose and empowerment?
I would invite you to really look at you, like to take a good look in the mirror and the metaphorical mirror of the magic that you're made up of the miracles that have created you and have you be here, and to not diminish any of it, to not discount any part of you, but to really take stock, take yourself in, your fullness in, and look at what a gift you are, and ask yourself, like, how do I want to share this gift with the world? What has me feel really alive, or what feels alive in me to bring forward? And when we step into our wholeness and our fullness, and we can be led with something that feels alive in us, it just clicks and creates a lot of movement.
I love that. Before we go, I did want to ask you one last question, and that is, what is next for you and your mom? Like, what are you guys doing for the new year that really can empower our community?
Okay, great question. So I'm trying to think that through. We have some in-person opportunities coming up at the end of January, which I know when they're listening is going to be pretty soon. But if that may be appealing to you, that you're like, I just want to get in a room with other people, you can definitely reach out to us about that. And what else we are really up to is supporting people to change their lives by being the fullness of who they are. And so that's the work that we're doing in our community. We're doing it in a big way right now, but by really helping people get connected in the new year to the foundation, back to basics of building a strong foundation of our beingness and our habits and our actions, and letting that be what creates so much more, and having that ultimately change our lives.
Oh, love that. Love, 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 love. Kaela, thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your journey. It's really been wonderful hearing you and hearing how you empower other people to chase their big dreams while staying grounded and aligned with their purpose. Your work, like I said, I'm a fan, and your work is needed, especially during this time of the year when so many people feel challenged or disconnected from their own power. And your contact information, I am excited, is in the show notes for anyone who wants to connect with you directly to learn more about Rise Leadership Circle, or even explore how working with you can help them achieve their dreams. And of course, you've got in-person events, which I am sure many people are going to be excited to learn more about. So again, they can find everything they need to know by contacting you. The links are in the show notes. Again, thank you so much for spending time with me today. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you, Leslie.
And to our listeners, I hope today's conversation has sparked something inside you to take the next step towards your own empowerment and vision for your future. Remember, you have the ability to create the life you desire by staying true to your dreams. And it's through doing the inner work that real transformation begins. When you commit to self-reflection and growth, You'll unlock the potential to step outside of your comfort zone and step into the life you truly desire. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Hey, heard you like podcasts. Well, check out Dollar Bets. Two sports guys with faces for radio, betting live money against each other on air. That's Dollar Bets with a Z. Find us on the Winner's Edge.
Hi, I'm Geraldine Glass, and I'm excited to share a new healing music offering, an extended version song called Joy Reboot, a unique fusion of pop, classic, rap, soundscapes, and funk to inspire collaboration and bring unity through sound. For us, Joy Reboot is music medicine, out now with Electrocast Records.
Electrocast.